What is up, everybody? It's Steve today. And Microsoft has stated why they say the 10-year deal is good enough for Sony. So Microsoft has stated that the 10 years is long enough for Sony to develop rival offerings to the Call of Duty franchise should Xbox acquire Activision's shooter series. So they are saying, once again, if this deal goes through, this merger goes through with Activision Blizzard, that if they attain Call of Duty, they might keep it on, most likely going to keep it on PlayStation consoles for 10 years, and after that, this might be exclusive. So they're saying Sony has plenty of time, 10 years, to make an equivalent shooter franchise in that time period, which I agree with. I don't see what the big issue with the statement is. It's like in 10 years, if Sony is so confident in their first party titles, which their fanboys claim that they are, they should make a first party FPS shooter to like at least compete or at least stay on the level. Because Xbox has first party titles, they have FPS games, Halo. They even have the third person shooter with Gears, which is very competent for that can compete with Call of Duty on its own. But just having Call of Duty to the Xbox lineup is pretty great in 10 years time. So, and even Nintendo has Splatoon, which caters to their audience for a shooter franchise. So why can't PlayStation do the same? I don't know. It's like they had some before in the past, but they all flopped. I mean, they have Destiny, which is made by the original Bungie, so you got that too. So I don't know. They just say, hey, 10 years is enough time for you to, if you're really seriously complaining about Call of Duty being on Xbox, you can make an equivalent in that time period, a rival Call of Duty at that point. So I don't see a problem with this statement. People in the comment section were kind of enraged by this comment from Microsoft. It's like, I don't see what was so controversial about this statement. It's like, instead of them crying so much about Call of Duty possibly an Xbox exclusive or Microsoft exclusive, then just make an equivalent franchise to it. That doesn't seem that big of a deal to me. Well, why didn't Microsoft do it then? Now you kept seeing people say the same statement throughout the comment section. But that's what Halo is. Halo is their biggest franchise, which is the Xbox's biggest moneymaker, one of their biggest moneymakers. It's like that is like literally the lifeblood of Xbox. So I guess you forgot who the mascot of Xbox is at this point. Like what? Remember, Halo did have games that were so-called Halo killers that flopped. So I mean, Halo's still standing around. Those other games are not around. So 10 years is long enough for Xbox to develop a Call of Duty rival as well. I mean, that's why they brought out the studio so they can have a Call of Duty on their team. So, okay. And this guy says, damn, I wish Microsoft would like this about their single player offerings in comparison to what we get from Sony over the last 10 years. It's just funny how he says that while the biggest game talked about this year is Starfield, which is a single player game. So, okay. Microsoft has had 20 years to develop Xbox. Why not just focus on their own failing IPs? Okay, I'm pretty sure their games are doing really well, so I don't know what failing IPs he's referring to. Like, literally, it's like about what IPs are going downhill. I don't know. But thinking these guys just say anything because they're butter. I'm thinking like, what IPs Microsoft have that's just failing? It's just squandering away. I don't know what he's talking about. That generation when Xbox One was enough time for Xbox to work on its first party. Instead, they bought all publishers. Yeah, it's like it's the same thing. He's just following Sony MO's. It was following Sony MO at that point because Sony did the same thing. Through their inception, they just bought other different publishers and studios to keep it on their platform exclusively. So, like they're just following MO at that point. So, I mean, this should make Sony look at franchises they shell like SOCOM, Kills and Resistance, MAG, Warhawk, etc. Start bringing back your multiplayer IPs. Yeah, they can't just do that. People act like they can't just do that. They bring back their own stuff to compete with Xbox or Call of Duty. I guess it's just asking too much for Sony to actually invest in their first party IPs that they killed off from long ago. Go ahead, Sony, make a multiplayer game and don't let it die this time, like how you killed SOCOM and the Halo killer Killzone. You got 10 years to tell Bungie to do it, and they got Bungie as well. So not only is Bungie making Destiny, you can have them work on other games as well too, first person shooters. So I don't see that this is some super controversial statement by Microsoft telling them to make their own equivalent to Call of Duty if they truly want competition. 20 years at the top of the sales chart. I wonder why no one has had that idea before. just like 20 years in the industry was long enough for Microsoft to be more competitive to Sony. I mean, that's why they're buying publishers so they can be more competitive. These people have a weird take on this whole competitive thing. Like, it's like they don't want Microsoft to compete with Sony. They don't want Microsoft to compete with Sony. They just want Sony to be dominant. Which you really don't want that, because you guys want Sony to compete for your dollar and your time invested in these consoles. So you kind of don't want that. Yeah, that's why Halo was the throne Call of Duty so easily. Not, I mean, back in 360 days, it kind of was. It's like you're either on the Halo, Call of Duty, Gears. I mean, that was a good time period for shooters, but PlayStation would do the same thing if they had the money. Yeah, we see how they do exclusivity deals right now. They don't even have nearly the amount of money as Microsoft does, but they'd be on the same thing if they had the resources as well. Yep, clearly Microsoft has the skill and talent to do so as well. Look at the success Halo Infinite is. It's truly expected on the FPS market today, setting trends with its groundbreaking gameplay and influence. He's trying to say it's sarcastic, but Halo Infinite is actually a pretty great game. Like, I don't see what Sony shooter is doing equivalent to what Halo Infinite is doing. Like, it's funny that he's talking trash about Halo Infinite, but what Sony franchise, multiplayer franchise, is doing the same as Halo Infinite? Destiny? There's only one that's close, and that was the people who originally made Halo. So, um, from a dev standpoint, 10 years is actually significant, considering PlayStation has a backlog of historically popular franchises like Killzone and SOCOM. They could easily find solutions to rival the Call of Duty franchise. Creating a fresh FPS IP is feasible given the current landscape. Hmm. Hope this switches something to bring back SOCOM. Yeah, they should. I don't see why they wouldn't. Then once again, they just keep saying the same thing. Why isn't Microsoft developing rival Call of Duty when it's like that's what Halo is, that's what Gears is. It's like you're talking about FPS games, that's what they do. So yeah, so it's just really fascinating how people, the fan base, just says, "Hey," it just boggles my mind. The Sony fan base in general don't want Sony to actually bring back these dead IPs. Like, when do you want that if you're a Sony fanboy or something like that? When you want them to bring back these dead IPs that they're just doing nothing with, they're actually gonna compete with Call of Duty instead of complaining consistently about this deal or just trying to block the deal from going through. Like, it just doesn't make any sense to me. It's been hilarious watching Sony extremists and Sony themselves cry over this crap as if they don't want to do more than anybody as far as exclusivity and trying to keep gamers from all platforms playing together. Yeah, yeah. Sony is the last place is the last place that should talk about exclusivity. Like, really, and like if they had the money, they'd be doing the same thing. So I don't see what the big deal is. I swear Phil Spencer is a joke. He's literally proven Sony's fears. I'm gonna laugh if the deal doesn't go through. Okay. Man, the response to this from Sony fanboys is just hilarious. Microsoft answering CMA's questions on duration, not saying they are going to pull Call of Duty after 10 years. Even if they did, I would likely damage Call of Duty more than Sony. Relax. Killzone Resistance is dead. Why would Microsoft do this? Yeah, it's just like, why won't they bring back Killzone or Resistance or SOCOM or even Siphon Filter? Like, they don't do anything with those IPs, and the Sony fan base don't want them to do anything with them. Like, it's just weird. This is a weird thing right here. Coming from a company who still has to rely on buying IP after being in the industry for 20 years, like Sony didn't buy Spider Man. Like, really? Like, you must have got that Sony didn't create the Spider-Man IP. They actually bought that from Marvel and now use it in their video games and their movies. Um, Killed their own franchises. Is he projecting here about Sony? Like, what is this? The only one person I know who killed their own franchises was Sony, but okay. Still hasn't gotten their own games together. Has to piggyback most of its success from PlayStation. What? What are they piggyback from PlayStation? What are you talking about? I don't know. That last part threw me from a loop. I don't know what he's talking about. They're piggyback from PlayStation, but I'm pretty sure Sony is piggybacking off Square Enix. It's like you would think Square Enix was a Sony exclusive, but how much they're just riding their coattails at this point. But yeah, I don't know what he's talking about. The comments and the quote comments are salty today. Yeah, they're definitely salty from this thing right here. Like, jeez. Microsoft was pointing out the obvious, and these guys are saying, "Hey, Sony, don't bring back the IPs that you canceled before. Just complain about Call of Duty potentially being taken off the platform in a decade from now." This comment goes both ways because for Xbox, 10 years should be enough to make a rival Call of Duty also, but even they doubt they can, so let's buy it. This should teach them not to rely on third-party deals. Fans like to act like they are an invincible market leader, but also weak in defenses that can adapt to save their lives. Yeah, they can adapt in this like constantly growing market. Then maybe they should be market leader. Like, at the end of the day, I'm kind of tired of this whole Activision Blizzard merger, talking about it at this point. But it's like there's always something new that comes up like every few days about this thing, where it's like somebody makes a statement and then some fan base gets salty about the statement. So it's just the newest one. Apparently, this statement, which is kind of obvious, it's an obvious statement to me in my opinion, but these guys got triggered over this, which I don't understand why. It's like if you really can't make something that compete with Call of Duty, you're gonna complain about it all day. Then maybe you should be market leader at this point. But those are just my thoughts. Definitely want to see your thoughts down below. You like this video. As always, thanks for watching and peace.